Okay, I'm live, y'all. Can you hear me? I'm back live and in color. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, I can see I'm live. Just bear with me, y'all. We having some technical difficulties. If you're here with me now, we had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to start over if you missed anything. But I just want to make sure that my people are on before I get started. Okay, y'all can hear me good. All right, so I started a whole new live on Facebook and YouTube. So, if anybody's watching that can't see me now, I'm on a whole new live. So I'm doing it now, okay? Let me know if y'all can see me on YouTube and Facebook. It's all good, y'all. We gonna get through this. We gonna get through this. We gonna be all right. All right, y'all can see me. Y'all. Okay. So I get a thumbs up that you guys are all here, and then I'll go ahead and start this live, baby. All right. I thank you, Rachel, for letting me know. Thank you. You see me on YouTube. Um, all right. Technical difficulties, but it's all good. It's all good. Okay. Y'all with me? Is you with me? How could you ever deceive me? But payback's for real now. So I'm giving y'all a couple more minutes. I'm just making sure that it's on my new live is showing right now before I go live again. Before I start my rant, because I got to get into my rant. So we got to start a whole new chat. Okay, looks like we're all watching. Oh, this says started 14 minutes ago. Can y'all see me on YouTube? Okay, you got me on YouTube. Cool. Bet. All right, so act like it never happened because I'm about to start over, okay? So let me get my rant in right quick. I just want to say this, though. I just want to get this off my chest. I'm not mad at some of y'all folks, huh? Wait a minute. I'm reading the chat. I'm going to get back to my rant, y'all. We doing unorthodox today, and I ain't mad about it, okay? We can hear you in the chat. It says, you can't hear me. First caller said that ain't no way to start a show. Listen, Linda. Don't judge me, okay? I'll give you the backstory in a minute. Listen, long as y'all can hear me, okay? All right, okay, we good to go, okay? So anyway, I'm not mad at some of you folks that have received a pardon from y'all's president. I'm not. But I'm saying, don't be hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray. That's all I'm saying, okay? Like, for those of you who think that you can never be pimped, as we speak, the government is taking, they cut out of your check. They taking they cut out of your paycheck. They taking your cut. They cut when you buy a car, when you buy a house, when you buy bubble gum, when you buy cigarillos on site. No questions asked. They taking that money. And then they go and spend that money however they want by way of government. Okay? All right. I had to get that off my chest. So pardon me. Okay? I'm going to commute my rant. And I'll be right back. Hello, and welcome to In Your Ear Radio. I am your host, Latoya. So very happy to be with you on this fine 105-degree weather Saturday. Thank you for all that roll with your girl, rock with your girl. If you're on YouTube and you can hear me now, let me know, because I got somebody saying they cannot hear me. I started a whole new live in YouTube because I was having technical difficulty. So I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Woo! Did you guys hear anything I said? Lord. Okay, anyways, I'm gonna move forward. Some people did say they can hear me that are in YouTube. Okay, so anyway, I got this new mic. Shout out to my brother who got me this mic as a Mother's Day gift. When I received the gift, it was just the perfect timing because we were dealing with just the worst news we could hear on a beautiful day And so, that was something that was just so divine. And to have that just to give me a smile and cheer. And he had no idea, of course, we didn't know that we were going to lose a very special loved one. But on the same day, Amazon, whoever, pulled up with a gift for me while we were together mourning the loss of our baby. So anyways, we tested this mic out. We did everything. I made sure I was set. All I had to do was turn the button on, and there were some technical difficulties. You guys couldn't hear me. So that's what had happened. Okay. But we'll get it together. Because it got a lot of cute stuff that I want to work with. But, I'm not going to deprive you guys of my presence, and I won't be deprived of yours. So thank you so much, because your presence is my present. Thank you. I see you, Sherry. Thank you, sis. You can hear me now on Facebook, YouTube. Y'all can hear me. Okay. Woo. I'm learning to do my woo-saw and be calm and not, get in panic mode, because things happen. Nothing is perfect. You know what I'm saying? They say when we make plans, God laughs. So, nothing never really goes the way we plan all the time. So that's just what it is. And I've come to understand that, just going through life day in and out, that things are not always in our control. You can try to do your best to maintain and keep things, under control, but just know and understand that that may not always be the case. And then you just have to accept that, right? This is a life we live. This is what we're living with. This is what we're dealing with. And it is what it is. So it is what it is, right? We still got to get through life. And I want to live this life through grace, even with all of the heartbreaking things that happen to me and to my family. I still want to be able to show up for those people who are still here, and just be accepting of God's grace, and understand that we all got to leave here. We all got to go through things. Things don't always go how we want them to go. And that's just that. So it is what it is. And that's the reality of life. So let this be a lesson. Things don't always go as planned. How many times does this ever happen, though? You know what I'm saying? What's my record like? Is my record like Charlo's? Y'all watching the fight? Charlo, what is his record? I think he's 35 wins and 0 losses. So Jermell Charlo is fighting tonight. Are y'all watching that fight? He's fighting against Thomas LaManna. Let me get his name right, okay? So yeah, my records was kind of like his. So now I'm like, how many shows I did in one. Not even a loss, though. I won't even count it as a loss, because we didn't lose. We just had some mishaps, right? So the decision is, we still here, and I'm still winning. You still winning, and that's what it is, okay? But anyways, yeah. So it's fight night, y'all. Charlo, the Jermell Charlo, because there's two brothers. I know they're not twins, right? They look a lot alike, but he's fighting today with against again Thomas LaManna, and I'm excited to see that fight. You know what makes me so excited about watching the Charlos, even if they just in the building, is I know it's going to be some shenanigans. Okay, it's going to be some shenanigans, and that's what I appreciate about them. Okay, Jermell Charlo. Okay, I say Jermell. I'll be messing up people's names. I apologize. I like for people to get my name right too. But anyways, yeah. So my favorite thing about the Charlos is the fact that it's going to be a misunderstanding, outside of the ring. So while y'all watching a fight, be it one of the Charlos in the ring, or be them just present watching whoever's boxing in the ring, it's going to be a misunderstanding. You're going to see some commotion. And, I like a little drama here and there, especially when it ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? So it reminds me of when I was watching, remember the Kings of Comedy, when the Cedric Entertainer, he was talking about Anthony Mason tomorrow. They fight too much. But I don't know what it is about the Charlos. They be with it, and I be with it. And it's just exciting. So for those of you who are watching the fight tonight, who y'all got? I'm with the Charlo. His last fight was in November 2023. So, people are saying that, this LaManna might have a chance. Maybe I'll call him by his first name. I know if you guys have been listening a couple of weekends ago, I talked about the Canelo fight. And we know Canelo is his first name, last name Alvarez, undefeated, redhead. Canelo means cinnamon. And I was making the point that no other boxer is called by his first name. And so me and my sweetie were having this conversation. He tried to bring to my attention some fighters who we do use their first names. But Charlo, but I couldn't think of any. And he mentioned, who did he say? Terrence Crawford. He said when he mentions the boxer Terrence Crawford, he says Terrence. I said, I think most people say Terrence Crawford. I even think of Lord, I'm forgetting my favorite fighter's name right now. It's the energy, it's everything going on. Oh my goodness, he doesn't box anymore, but he's a commentator. Rumor has it he might do an exposition. Y'all help me out because y'all know who my favorite fighter is. Shout out to GB who got Charlo. You got Charlo. That's what's up. That's what's up. Who y'all got? Who y'all got? So yeah, Andre Ward. See, y'all know me, Andre Ward. That's my dude. That's my dude. Yeah. So Andre Ward. We say his whole name. So I can't think of any other boxer besides Canelo that we don't use. We don't say their first name. Shout out to see my people in the chat. You know they know who I love. You know what I'm saying? They know.com. But anyways, yeah. So Charlo, his last fight was in 2023. So they're saying that's the only advantage LaManna, or I'll say Thomas, just so I don't jack up his last name again, Thomas has against him. You know, Thomas, you know, he's earned his rights too. He got 39 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw. I think it's 18 TKOs. Charlo, 35 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. You know what I'm saying? Inside the ring, outside the ring. I don't know if he won all his fights. I saw a little background shenanigan, and I can't really call it. But I was reading some commentators' predictions, and they mentioned that there is no real doubt to who wins the top 2 fights tonight. It goes on to say if, you know, if it could be, you know, Plant, which is another, you know, headliner per se, for lack of a better term, or Charlo, were to stumble, it would be among the biggest upsets of the year. For Thomas, again, I'm talking about LaManna, to find success, Charlo's time out of the ring would have led to an extreme rust combined with the disinterest in actually fighting. But Thomas LaManna has been put down by men who don't hit as hard as Charlo plenty of times in his career. So they're saying he's been put down, but I'm looking at the stats. So, okay, 5 losses. Okay, that's plenty. Okay, yeah, I feel you. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I'm excited to see the fight and just see what happens, you know, outside the ring, because I know his brother going to be out there ready for whatever goes down. You know what I'm saying? They stay amped. That's what's up. But, you know, just to change gears for just a hot second, I just want to talk about Brian McKnight, because his son did pass away, Nico McKnight. He passed away at the age of 32 of colon cancer. And this is just traumatic to me to hear this story, because just learning that I didn't know he even was, you know, going through cancer, and to be 32 years old. Y'all get your colonoscopies, and I'm talking to myself. I got one scheduled. I'm having a consultation in July. My doctor's been telling me to get one. You know, I have good doctors. They don't shun me from getting, you know, my regular examinations and everything. Black people, they encourage to get even sooner, even though it doesn't really run in my family. I do have one family member who has been battling it, but other than that, cancer is not really something that goes in my family on either side. But I encourage you guys to do that. But the gossip with that, let me get my tea, y'all. You don't have to pour some extra tea in here, because yeah, you know, with everything that's going on. Whew. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the crazy thing about this story, if you guys haven't been following Brian McKnight, who I love, Back at One, all of his great music that he's had over the years, and I still will go see him, even though he made me feel some type of way after I learned that he kind of just disowned his kids from his first marriage. He has a new marriage, and he named one of his sons after him, and that would be Brian McKnight. But he named him Brian McKnight Jr. Having a son with his first marriage with the same name, I would think that he would name him Brian McKnight III. That's neither here nor there. But I just thought it was just, you know, just a sad story, because, you know, they were still estranged at the time of his passing, which was just recently, a couple of days ago. And Nicholas, his mother, you know, responded after the passing of her son, saying he was cherished husband, son, brother, grandson, uncle, and nephew, whose warmth, laughter, and love touched the lives of all who knew him. She went on to say that Nicholas was a self-taught artist of music and photography. His passing is an immeasurable loss to his family and those who held him dear. His uncle went on, you know, adding to it before I think anyone even knew of his passing publicly, was that when that he was one of those amazing kids, quirky and curious and ridiculously talented. His uncle's name is Claude, and he's a lead singer of the cappella group Take Six. Okay, Claude, Take Six. All right. He said he was an amazing singer, amazing guitar player, had a great eye as a photographer, and one of those kids, at least in his estimation, that you always wanted to be around. And so it really sucks that he's no longer with us. Again, you know, there's no Brian McKnight has not responded publicly. He has been public in the past about his relationship with his kids, disowning them basically, and just going on with his new wife and his new life. It's sad because even during this time, it's been reported that, Brian McKnight is saying that he did try to help once he, with his son's complications, and the mother of their son intervened, and she's, denying that. And the son even tweeted during this time before his passing, he said, when I was about to die in the hospital from complications from my cancer, I just wanted to bury the hatchet and hear from him. He's talking about his dad, Brian McKnight, and said, and hear him say he loves me. And he told me he couldn't arbitrarily tell me he loves me. He said it still cuts deep. And that was at the time, again, before his passing, obviously. But damn, is that cold or what? And that's public. That was a tweet. That was something he posted on social media, again, before his passing. Nico McKnight, at the age of 32, has passed away. And I just want to use this opportunity to encourage those who got some rift with their family members, the people that you really, really love, you know what I'm saying? Friends, people that you really, really mess with, you know what I'm saying? Deeply. If it's something that's not really that serious, if it's trivial, don't be stubborn. Don't hold on to animosity. Reach out, show love, because I'm going to tell you something. One of the blessings, and I think it's God's grace that I've had in the tragedy of those who I've lost so close to me, is that we had it was an understanding of our love. It wasn't no rift, wasn't no beef, it wasn't things unsaid. I mean, I wish they were still here, and there was so much more I would love to say, but I thank God for the grace that before they passed, they knew what it was, you know what I'm saying, between us. That makes a big difference, because I can imagine that would torment a person. That would torment a person, knowing how deeply you love somebody, but you was all in your feelings about something trivial, and you just didn't really express yourself because, you was just in your feelings. But if that's something you can get over, because if they pass and you say, I could have got past that, that really doesn't mean anything now. I want to encourage you to act like, God forbid, but act like the clock is ticking and you're at the final hour, and reach out. You know what I'm saying? So don't waste time being mad. And another thing I want to talk about, because grief is a big deal, right? I, never knew what it was to have grief until 2018 with the loss of my firstborn nephew. And I've lost my grandmother, who I lived with. Like, we were tight. So I'm not saying that I haven't been sad and confused and mad when I've lost people, but grief is a whole nother animal. And so grief is ongoing forever, and it comes in waves, and you just never know what's going to trigger you or what's going to make you feel a certain way. You might see somebody that looks like that person, hear a song, you may laugh, you may cry, but it's just, you go through what you go through. And I know people, when you tell them you lost a loved one, some people don't know what to say. Some people, one of the common responses is, let me know if you need anything. And I just want to say off top, shout out to a girl I know, when, one of my loved ones was struggling hard with COVID, and she was just telling me, like, the worst part was people was, let me know if you need anything. And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm on a respirator. Like, I'm not calling you to tell you what I need. And the point I'm making is, when people are struggling or going through anything, including grief, I know we mean well. I'll probably said it to people too. Let me know if you need anything. When people are at their lowest or going through what they're going through, they're not able to articulate. And if they got a level of pride, they're probably never going to ask. So it's up to us as friends and people who love each other to think for them, to be able to be that strength when they are weak. That's the whole part of having relationships with people, is that balance. I'm strong when you're weak. You're weak when you're weak. When I'm weak, you're strong, vice versa. That's the balance in relationship that happens, right? And that's what makes it so special to have that love and relationship. So let me just offer, as she had said to me during that time, when we were having this discussion, is don't offer, call me if you need something. Just do something. Like, some people I know during, we've been hit hard. So, unfortunately, I have a little practice with this, but people send food, shout out to, one of my sweeties friends who gave us concert tickets. It was beautiful for us. It was what we needed. People will come just hang out with you. They want to offer to clean your house. Give them a spa ticket, let them go somewhere and get a massage, or just get their nails or their hair done, or, give them money or movie tickets. I don't know. There's so many different things you can do, but don't ask them what they need. If they mention it, that's beautiful. But for the most part, when people are going through what they're going through, most of the time they don't want to ask. And secondly, they're not thinking about what they need. All they know is what they need has gone. It's not here. They don't have access to it. When I'm talking about grief, death, and dying. And so you can't give that to them. So there's other things you can do to just keep them busy, get them out the house. Me joining a book club was what I needed. Shout out to my cousin Africa, who started it, and I don't think she did it in terms of thinking of people with grief, but just having a, what do we call it? A womanhood, a sisterhood. And it's been beautiful, and it's given me something to look forward to once a month. Maybe give someone counseling money. I don't know. So I just want to put that out there. I just wanted to put that out there and just let you guys know, because I know we all mean well, but if I can do anything to help anybody, help someone else, I hope that information does help. Shout out to Hope, who's also on Facebook. Thank you. I'm so glad you can hear me. Hello. Beautiful to you too as well. Thank you for joining me on Facebook. I hope all is well with you. She's another one that is, I would consider selfless. She has a nonprofit. She does a lot of things for the community. She gathers up people with deep pockets to help those who are less fortunate. So shout out to Hope and your endeavors. And, much love to you. Okay, so on this day, it's March 31st, 2025. On this day, guess what? Rapper Daryl DMC Daniels was born. Who? Listen, my Adidas. What y'all know about that? I mean, back then when I think about how hip hop just did something to us, my Adidas, just all of it. What is it? Hair was kind of curly. Went to her house and I had to leave her early. She do rock around. That's right, on time is tricky. Like, I could just think of all his music, and then he came out with the reality TV show with his family. And that was beautiful. I remember him at the end of the night being in his deep tub and just texting, summing up the evening, and that was beautiful. But anyway, he's 61, so shout out to him. What's y'all favorite Run DMC song? Put it in the chat. Let me know. Also, filmmaker Clint Eastwood. He turned 95 today. Now, I didn't do the research on him. I just know anything that Clint Eastwood has directed or acted in, I've enjoyed it. He's a very good actor. His, productions that he's part of are very thorough. From whatever. Gran Torino is one of the last ones I think I remember watching, and that was good. But when I was deciding to mention his birthday, him turning 95, but listen, it's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing to be, especially in sound mind and reasonably good health. You know what I'm saying? At 95, so I hope he is. But what I was thinking when I was posting this, when I was about to add him to my mentions today, was I hope he ain't, no MAGA, no Trump supporter, because you know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. Let me sip my tea, y'all. I'm about to get my Wendy Williams on for a minute. Here's the thing. And I don't know, y'all let me know. Do y'all have this issue too? As a Black woman, I kind of, if I don't know you as a white person or any of another race, I question who you believe in, who you roll with. Like if you MAGA, if you would whack MAGA or you supporting y'all's current president, I don't rock with you, and I'm definitely not shouting you out for your birthday. So I was like, I hope he ain't one of them. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all have that issue though? Do y'all feel like when you meet somebody new that's non-melanated, do you be like, is he racist? Is he do he support the current president? Is he a MAGA? Is it just me? I know it ain't just me, but I be feeling that way. So I hope that's not him. But that's what we go through, because somebody invented race and then people started being racist. And we've been living with systemic racism. And so we have to navigate through this world trying to, pick out the weeds. You know what I'm saying? The weeds, the ones that aren't in our corner. Y'all, we're going to talk about pardons today, too. If y'all heard my opening, that was kind of like my hint to talking about pardons, because we're going to get into that, because I don't want you guys to be distracted by the shiny objects, you know what I'm saying, of what's happening with y'all president pardoning certain Black men. Okay, I'm just saying.com. So we're gonna get into that. We got a lot to talk about, and y'all know I always got a lot to talk about. So we're gonna get into it. But also on this day in 1790, President George Washington, which is our first president, signed into law the first U.S. Copyright Act. So if you guys aren't familiar with what a copyright is, it's the right to copy. So basically, with a copyright act, having that protection means only the creator of the work can authorize anyone to reproduce the work. So US copyright laws usually protect the creator's work up until like 70 years after death, allowing the creator to pass on the copyright to their heirs, right? So, I guess he did a good thing. And I want to go back and read more into what that was about. What was his intention? What sparked him to do that? And I didn't do the history on that, so I can't really tell you for sure. Yeah, okay. So shout out to somebody I got in the chat that said my favorite Run DMC was Rock the Box. Y'all remember Rock the Box? Woo-dee-woo! That's what's up. Rock the Box was dope. Rock the Box was dope. Yeah, Run DMC was it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go back down this rabbit hole and find out what prompted him. But that's always me. Like, you do something. Now I want to know what made you, what sparked the light that lit the flame. What made you go in and do this copyright? And I bet you got something to do with some slaves, something that ain't good, but like, I don't know the history. Shout out to Cheryl. She said LL Cool J is hard as hell and I need love. Okay, listen. But you can't talk about Run DMC without talking about LL Cool J, because that's the same vibe I get. I remember we ain't had cable back then, but our friends down the street in the apartments, they had it. And we packed their living room and LL was on with the cane going. He was going, boy, he was going. So I feel you, because I was feeling the same thing when I was talking about Run DMC, Daryl of Run DMC celebrating his birthday. It was hard. Did I get Daryl? Is Daryl? Yeah, Daryl is the father of the girls, right? Now I'm getting mixed up. Anyway, whatever. So anyway, shout out to Sherry, who's also in the chat. She says, thanks for sharing and talking. Thanks for speaking on the grief. I really needed those words you share with us. Thank you, sis. Listen, the reality is we all experience it. For those of you who haven't, God bless you. You've lived to some point in your life where you haven't had to deal with it. And that's a good thing, but they say when you're dealing with grief, it's that love that has nowhere to go. I was reading a post by a lady that I know. Her son passed a few years back, and this year would have been his graduation, maybe just a couple of days ago. And she decided to go to the beach and just do her. And I can't imagine the trauma, the heartbreak, the what ifs, you know what I'm saying, that she's dealing with. And that's one of the things she mentioned. She said, I just have this love that has nowhere to go. And that's what grief is. You know what I'm saying? You have this abundance of love and you envision y'all gonna grow old together. You're gonna cook their favorite meals. They're gonna get on your nerves. Y'all gonna celebrate and y'all gonna do life together. And then it's all interrupted. And then now you're just looking around like life ain't the same. And you miss that person immensely. And you don't know how to navigate sometimes. But like I said, we have to keep pushing. We are strong people. And I don't say that to say that you can't be weak and fall down and not get out of the bed and brush your teeth and be musty for a few hours. But after that, you need to get in the shower, brush your teeth, wash your face, eat, exercise, treat your body right, because those who you loved you and wouldn't want to see you suffer. Because I do believe, and at the end of the day, they are in a much better place than we are. So we can enjoy and love this phase that we call life. But I do believe that they're in a much better place. And we just miss them. We used to them being here. The hell, it ain't right. It ain't fair. But it happens to us all, But yeah, so copyrights. Yeah, that was George Washington. That was one of the good things that he did. He also took teeth out of the enslaved and put them in his mouth. Okay, I'm just saying. They taught us in elementary that George Washington had wooden teeth. But I'm giving you the truth. This is why they burning books.com. This is why they burning books. Because they don't want us to know the truth about the savagery of those who founded the United States, which is just a few hundred years old, compared to places that are thousands. You got countries that are thousands that have been established for thousands of years. Before these people came over, these undesirables came here and took out the natives that were here after they befriended them. Again, yeah, George Washington used the enslaved to, we got veneers nowadays. You know what I'm saying? We got the crowns, whatever we doing, but we ain't taking other people's teeth and putting them out. George Washington did. Okay, go do your research on that. But anyway, so everything, most things can be copyrighted, not limited to novels, art, poetry, musical lyrics and compositions. Computer software can be copyrighted, graphic designs, films, architectural designs, and website content. So you can do the research to find out how you protect that. And I think that's very important for us to know and understand. In this world we live in today, like even when I first got onto the internet, just having my journalistic just a I would say an elementary understanding of journalism. If you guys don't know, my passion is journalism. When I was a kid, I always wanted to write. I've always written, not publicly, but I would write poetry, write rhymes. Yeah, you listen, Linda. I listen. I saw you coming for you, saw yourself fronting about your wealth, talking like you stupid, shooting blank arrows as if your name was Cupid. But I knew this because you was always fronting. Your eyes are the clue, your mouth is running, but you never meeting the finish line. What's up with that? That was back in my early 20s, probably even my teens, 19 or whatever. But anyway, so I've been writing journals just about life and just having my take on things. So I'm an intellectual person. And so just having that nerd aspect when I got onto social media, it was kind of tricky for me because reposting, I like to give credits to where I got it from. And I started learning that people wasn't doing that. So I'm like, there's no rules, there's no jail, there's nobody going to punish you for not adding the footnotes like you see at the back of a book if you're reading nonfiction per se, or even nonfiction. There's footnotes giving people credit to where you got that information from. When you see news reporters talking, they'll say reported from whatever source they got it from, and you don't see that too much. But when something is copyrighted and is protected, it's what do we call it? Personal property, because I can't think of the word. But anyway, so I respect copyright. I respect personal property, and the word term that I'm looking for, I can't come up with, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I know y'all are real smart. Also on this day, before we move into some other things, because there's a lot going on in the world, y'all. It's even in Nevada. It's a lot going on. I need y'all to stay focused and stay woke because what's happening is really happening, and it doesn't feel like it because some of us are still not being affected by it. So we don't really feel it yet. So it's a lot going on. And so we're going to touch on it just so you can understand that it's happening and it's coming. It's coming our way. Shout out to The Handmaid's Tale. Shout out to our Earthseed, the books of Earthseed as well, Octavia Butler. But anyways, on this day, May 31st, 1921, it was a 2-day massacre that erupted in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as white mobs began looting and burning the affluent Black district of Greenwood over reports a Black man had assaulted a white woman in an elevator. Though the exact number remains unknown of the deaths, it was reportedly 300 Black Tulsans were killed during the riot. So we call this Black Wall Street. So when you Tulsa, Oklahoma, they, just a quick history of it. These people were, just think about what we have here, redlining, where you see the majority of Black people in certain communities. Your grandparents live on a certain side of town. Over the years, it's because of redlining, where the white people, government powers that be, pushed them into a certain community. Well, this happened with Tulsa. So they pushed them onto a land, saying you can't be over here. Of course, there was not integration in 1921. So they put them on a land and said, this is where y'all Negroes will be. And lo and behold, they resided on a land that was full of oil. Hooty-hoo. And so with all of that oil, that made that city, that town that they lived in, wealthy. And the wealthy people who already had money came into those communities and built hotels. Mind you, Black people couldn't stay in hotels that were white owned. So it was good to have hotels in a community owned by Black people if you needed a place to stay. Shout out to the Moulin Rouge that used to be here in Las Vegas, to where people like Sammy Davis Jr., a lot of famous singers that would come here and entertain white people, do the dance for them, couldn't sleep in these hotels. They could sing on their stage, but they couldn't sleep there. So we had the Moulin Rouge here in the historic West Las Vegas that is gone. But this is what happened in Tulsa. So they were put on this land. Like I said, it was rich, wealthy land that they did not know of. Same thing that's happening here in West Las Vegas. Our people were pushed into this community in West Las Vegas. Come to find out, it's a no flood zone. And so now they're doing a lot of eminent domain. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically where at some point, if they feel like this land is beneficial to the state, they can give you money, whatever they say that the value of that property is, and take your land. So right now they're being nice per se, and they're trying to get people to just buy, sell their properties. And a lot of these people who own these properties are deceased. These are grandmamas and great grandmamas. So now they just, their kids and their grandkids and great grandkids that have these properties, not wanting to pay the property taxes, not want to maintain the property, not wanting to do what they need to do to maintain it and have generational wealth, because the value is going up, all the way up, because it's near downtown. And I'm talking about Las Vegas here in Nevada. And so that property here in West Las Vegas is worth a lot too now. And that's why they're trying to buy it up. So right now they'll sell it to you for a good price. And then eventually they'll come in with eminent domain and say the government needs it. And then you won't have a choice in it. But I tell you to hold on to it. But anyway, with Tulsa, that's why that happened. So they built hospitals, they had airplanes, they had institutions. Everybody wasn't rich, just like here now in the world today that we live in. Everybody's not rich, but everybody was good. And here's the thing, when people say everybody needs to get their own, be an entrepreneur, do this, do that, do that. If everybody has their own business and they're not working for anybody, who is going to work for you? Who's going to clean your buildings? Who's going to maintain your property? Who's going to do your accounting? If everybody got their own business, who's going to be doing the other work that needs to be done? So I respect entrepreneurs. I respect people who have their own, but let's not lose sight of, we all got to work together. And that's what it was in Tulsa. You had the wealthy, you had those who were just blue collar, white collar, everybody working together, humble. But of course, white people don't like that. It's something about us just minding our business and drinking our water that makes their ass itch. I'm saying, scratch it. You got 5 fingers, 10, scratch it. Don't come messing with us. But that's what had happened on May 31st, 1921. And John Singleton, he did a movie about it in Rosewood. Pardon me, even in 1997, I did not associate or understand the story. I didn't understand how historic this was, and this was a real deal. But the movie Rosewood was based off of the massacre that happened in 1921 in Rosewood, for those of you who may not know. So yeah, John Singleton in 1997 came out with this movie. The thing about it was, even though it was a fairly favorable movie, it didn't have a commercial success. I don't know, maybe since then, maybe it has earned more money. I didn't do the research to find out because over time, people go back and start watching things once they can associate it with something that's historic. And so maybe they made it, but at that time, they didn't make it $17 million budget. But I encourage you guys to go back and watch Rosewood. It'll give you an understanding of what I'm talking about when I talk about the massacre that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And a fun fact I learned about this, the Gap Band. Y'all know that song, You Dropped the Bomb on Me, Baby. You dropped the bomb on me. I can't sing, so I'm not trying to torture y'all. I'm just trying to get y'all to understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So yeah, that song was actually inspired by the massacre in Tulsa. That was in relation to it. So the content, if you listen to the song, you might not get that takeaway, but that whole hook was inspired by what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 on this day. In 1921. So the Gap Band. So go back and listen to that song. Yeah, wow. But anyway, John Singleton, I just wanted to mention because I miss him. When he passed away, I didn't know him personally. I didn't know what his personal life was like, whatever he had going on. But as a director, oh my goodness, he was so thorough. I was like, he is going to be so missed in this whole community of movies and directing because he was so thorough. Okay, remember he did Baby Boy, he did Higher Learning. He also created Snowfall. I remember when Snowfall first came out. Thank you, sis. She said, "Sang." That's right. Look, that's how you know somebody love you because they'll listen and they don't even judge you. You know what I'm saying? Knowing you can't sing, they say it, "Sang." Yeah. So John Singleton. If you think about all those movies, Higher Learning, really, go back and watch Higher Learning if y'all remember that. It never gets old. Again, he co-created Snowfall. I started watching in the beginning, but when my little boy from Kicks, I can't think of his name right now, but he was a cute little light-skinned curly hair boy from Kicks. He was in the first scene, and when he passed, I was literally traumatized in real life. Like I went to his Instagram, started following him. Like I was really sad, like in real life. And so I've been following him since, the young man who was killed. But he also directed Empire. He directed the 5th episode of The People versus O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story. So he did his thing, and he was also nominated for the Academy Award for Best Director, becoming at age 24 the first African American and youngest nominee in this category. Okay, so this man had true talent. True talent. He did his stuff thizzle. He was also nominated for the Prime TV Emmy Award for Outstanding Directing for a Limited Series, Movie, or Dramatic Special. So I miss him just for his artistry. I really do. I think we really missed out on what's happening. Shout out to Shanta who's checking in. I appreciate you. All right, I appreciate you for checking in. Just to give y'all a little news from Nevada. Let me sip some of my tea. I was watching the local news this morning, which I don't do often. I let my sweetie keep his ear to the local streets when it comes to all the shenanigans that's happening, because I tune into other outlets to get my news and information, because I feel like they don't be telling the news right. And a lot of times it's just a lot of sad stuff. And I don't be with it. So, but anyway, the TV happened to be on, and I was watching this. I saw our local Democratic senator who was president, and what is her name? Shelley Berkeley. And they were talking about that DHS had declared Nevada a sanctuary city. And I was like, oh, and I got to sip my tea again. Here we go. Listen, I'm going to try to help y'all understand what's happening. Because like I said, if you've been listening since the beginning, it's happening right before our eyes. We're not feeling it. Some of us, we're not, we don't feel the effects of what they're doing. Again, shout out to The Handmaid's Tale and the Earthseed series by Octavia Butler. I encourage you guys to read and watch those two things. Watch Handmaid's Tale or read the books, or Earthseed, you can read the books. It'll give you an understanding of what's happening. Or watch some of these apocalyptic movies. They'll give you an idea of what's coming ahead. God forbid. But anyways, the Department of Homeland Security today listed Las Vegas City as a sanctuary jurisdiction for immigrant enforcement, writing in a news release that the hundreds of jurisdictions included are deliberately and shamefully obstructing the enforcement of federal immigration laws. So just for those who may not understand what this is saying, what a sanctuary city is, it's a sanctuary city. They call them that when they're not cooperating with the immigration laws. So maybe, they're more lenient for people who are undocumented. Maybe they're not deporting people and doing whatever they're doing. So these are the people they're saying, these are cities that they're saying are not cooperating with the immigration laws. So the U.S. Democratic Senator Shelley Berkeley is disputing this. And she said it never was a sanctuary city, and it's not currently. Shout out to Lombardo. I think he MAGA associated, which is our governor currently. But I like the fact that he's agreeing with Shelley Berkeley, saying it's not a sanctuary city. And this is brought about by the Secretary of Homeland Security. They have the authority to call a city a sanctuary city, the Secretary of Homeland Security. Normally, this is brought about by the city council or the mayor, who would usually declare this, which gives the Attorney General the ability to deny funding to a city because they're not, doing right by the immigration laws per se. And so, if they're using our local attorney general, then I'm not so concerned about this being an issue, or at least I believe that our current attorney general, Aaron Ford, will fight on the behalf of those who may be affected by this, which in our minds, we're thinking these are people who are immigrants and undocumented. But yeah. And I was like, what is this all about? So y'all's president, he's on a rampage. You know what I'm saying? He pettier than 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? He real petty, and his type of petty is detrimental in real life, not on TV. He's hella petty, and it is affecting people's lives in real life. And so now he's going after, those who he thinks don't support him. Even though I think the majority vote, if I'm not mistaken, was for him and for president here in Nevada. So I was because I like to put two and two together. Even though I'm not good with math, I like to add. I like to get an understanding on what I'm seeing and why is this happening. And I just like to follow the trail and follow the money to understand, because these people in these positions, considering y'all's current president, he doesn't do anything out of goodwill. It's always an intentional behind. There's intentions. And so I'm trying, what is this intention? So I couldn't really put two and two together except to say that, he wants to run stuff. He wants to run shit. Okay. So there are over 500 cities that are declared sanctuary cities in 9 states, which is what I counted doing my research. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that includes Hawaii, DC, which is not a state, Illinois, Alaska, California, Colorado, and now they're putting Nevada on the list. But our current representative, Shelley Berkeley, says they are working diligently to remove Nevada from the list of sanctuary cities. So let me explain to y'all what this means for people who don't understand what's happening. This gives them authority to come in and do what they've done, as you've been watching the news in other states. They come in with masks on, ICE agents, and arresting people who are legally here or people who are undocumented, and sending them to a whole nother country. Because remember, they just passed a bill that made it okay for y'all's president to send incarcerated people, not just immigrants, Americans too. Pay attention, y'all. This is real. This is serious. They have approved the president to send your loved ones abroad, maybe to the continent of Africa, maybe to El Salvador, or whoever else is willing to take them, because we're going to get them our tax dollars. The pimp that took theirs off our paycheck, that took theirs off top when we bought that bubble gum and them cigarettes and that new car and that house, when they took theirs off top, that money goes into a pot and they allocate and distribute it how they want. So don't tell me you wouldn't be pimped. Because I'm just saying, I ain't, look, I'm here too. I'm getting, they taking mine too. Okay, I'm just trying to let y'all understand what's happening, and just keep it 100 with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's exactly what it is. Taxation without representation. This was something that was reserved for those who were incarcerated, because we know in a lot of states things are changing. But in a lot of states, if you had a felony conviction, you couldn't vote, but they were still taking your damn money. You still was required to pay taxes, but you didn't have representation. How does that work? Because the whole point of them taking your money is so that the country can benefit. You know what I'm saying? When we have things like resources for people who may, not be able to their income doesn't help them, meet their needs with food, clothing, and shelter. SNAP and welfare and free lunch and Medicaid and Medicare and all of the benefits from our tax dollars, not theirs, because they use ours. Them jets and planes they flying in is our tax dollars. When that motherfucker go to Mar-a-Lago and play golf, that's our tax dollars. Okay, so that was reserved for the incarcerated, right? Those who have felony convictions. And like I said, in some states, shout out to Nevada, that has changed where, based on certain stipulations, I won't get into the details of it, but you can vote being a formerly convicted felon. But it didn't make sense for someone to be able to take your tax dollars, do what the hell they want to do with it. Shout out to all the pimps in the world. I know y'all got y'all powder. Get y'all powder going. Take their money and do whatever they want to do with it, and say, no, you don't get to have any say so in this. The same thing is happening with us law-abiding citizens. Okay.com, tweet it. Okay. So that's what's happening right now. And I just need you guys to understand that we are all being affected. We should be pulling together to fight against this as a whole, no matter what our skin tone is, who we like to, rub bellies with when the lights go low, what we do in our personal time that's not affecting the innocent. Nobody's being victimized. We should all be pulling together and fighting against this, because we should not be allowing them to take our money and allocate it to Elon Musk and corporations so that they can stay rich. And at the same time, they're taking away our, I think there's I'm gonna touch lightly on it because I, don't want to get into the details of it, but I know that they're reducing the age for being a beneficiary. So we know under the Obama administration, I think it was 21 or maybe 23, up until the age of 23, a child can be considered a dependent, which was a beautiful thing for families who had health care. You can keep your child, if they were in school, getting their education, you can keep them on your health insurance up until 23, if I'm not mistaken about the age. That was a beautiful thing. Not so much for people who may have been paying child support, who had kids in school, think you're done at 18, it might have extended further. But there were some benefits from it, right? So now they're trying to say the beneficiary ends at the age of 7. So they're trying to make that so that people who need some type of supplemental income, Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, welfare, all of that, if your child is over 7, they can go to work. They can get a job. That's what we're going to. And y'all go do the history of child labor laws and why they had to be put into effect. The same reason why we had affirmative action and diversity, equity, and inclusion in certain laws that protected people so that they could go into the workforce. Child labor laws were put into effect so the 7-year-olds wasn't out there working. I remember my grandmother telling me she used to pick cotton at 8, sun up to sundown with her mother at 8. How many of y'all 8 years old do any kind of work? They barely have a chore. Do they sweep? Do they mop? Do they make their bed? I know my 8-year-old didn't. I did everything for him. Okay. But yeah, so I just need you guys to think about that. And when you think about them declaring Nevada as a sanctuary city, allows them to come in here and do their thug thizzle. You ain't got to see their face because they can wear a mask and just gaffle up whoever they want to gaffle up. It ain't going to be light-skinned, white-skinned people. It's going to be brown-skinned people, documented, undocumented, naturalized citizens or not. It's a reality, you guys. Don't, for those who clapped when the vice president lost her bout for the fight for presidency, boy, I hope y'all feel it the worst. I hope y'all feel it the most if I got to wish bad on anybody. Yeah, Nevada is a right to carry state. It definitely is. True indeed. You can go purchase a weapon and I'm just responding to a question in the chat. You can go purchase a weapon. They do a simple background, but you can get I forgot what it's called, start with a C, but you can get a licensing to open carry too as well. But anybody, with a good background can purchase a weapon out here, a gun. So I want to get into these pardons because I don't want us to get distracted because a lot of people, we go back into the hip hop industry. And I'll tell y'all, I can honestly say that before this man started running for president, who's y'all current president now, CCW. Yeah, the CCW. Thank you. Yeah, you can get a CCW and walk around guns blazing like a cowgirl. You know what I'm talking about? You walk around here like I got my hand on my gun because they got me on the run. Okay. Now I'm in the courtroom waiting on the outcome. Free Big Meech. Big Meech. Yeah, he got some time to go. NBA young boy. He was going to be released anyway, July 2025, but with a pardon, he's going to be coming home sooner. Like, humor me. Like some of y'all like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But again, just going back to the history of y'all's president, Donald Trump. Before he started running for president, I wasn't really doing the knowledge on him. I didn't understand. I didn't know about him putting a full page ad in the New York Times, calling for the execution of 5 innocent boys, the exonerated 5, if y'all don't know about that story. I didn't know that he had lost a discrimination lawsuit to where he was denying occupancy to Black residents. I didn't know that he had 6 bankruptcies to where people who had built casinos and other structures for him did not get paid for their work. I didn't know that he had bankrupted Atlantic City by building a casino there that was a flop. I didn't know that he liked to grab people by the pussy. I didn't know he was on Epstein Island filling on girls. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know all of these things about him, but once he put his, I heard the rumors, people would joke, he's a good businessman and he should run for president. And I didn't take him seriously. I even used to love watching The Apprentice when he was on You're Fired. That was my shit. But I didn't know. And see how ignorance is bliss? How ignorance is bliss. If you don't know, then how can you feel a way about a situation? How can you make an educated determination about who a person is if you don't know? But people that were from New York who followed this man knew. And some of these rappers, obviously, they didn't know either because they was putting them in their songs. Nelly, I just heard a lot of people. I've heard boxers, rappers say how he's a good businessman. To this day, after all he's done, after my mother and brother died under his watch from COVID, because he didn't handle his business, they still saying he's a great man. Okay. But I didn't know these things. But back in the day, it was Donald Trump and getting money with it. And he was hanging out with these little rappers and everything. And they had no idea. Or maybe they liked the lifestyle. They liked the fact that he could file bankruptcy and not pay the working man, the blue collar man for their job. You know what I'm saying? Where he can just dump his money. All these bankruptcies, then you turn around and you tell people they need to pay back their student loans when he was refused by Congress to be able to give people $5,000 relief on their student loans, was starting to give people $90,000, $100,000, in the hundreds of thousands, relief on their student loans, and it would have continued had y'all not been so dumb, some of y'all.com. But not knowing these things about him, and then knowing what I know about him, I'm like, you cannot amuse me. There's nothing this man can do that I could say he's a good person, because he's not a good person. Because everything he does is intentional. His intentions are not in the goodness and the wellness, well-being of the country, of the people, not even his own people, with the same freaking skin tone that they classify as white, because that's how it goes, right? Don't matter what country you're from, you're just white. If your skin's light enough and you can pass, you can do that. Shout out to the Irish, who were considered black until they needed more white people and they were able to pass, and others, the Italians too. So you can't amuse me. You can't make me feel any differently based on the facts that I know about you. Shout out to Shanta, who's in the chat, who says that I'm asking because I can imagine that armed individuals are being attacked or kidnapped by unidentified will protect themselves and their families. Yes. And this was the question she was asking, is if we open carry. Yes, we're open carry. And yes, that is the case. But it's still a losing battle, because who you think is going to win? If you bust back, you know what I'm saying? Who still wins in the end? Yes, we're going to do by any means necessary to protect our loved ones. And again, these ICE agents that's wearing these masks, we don't know who they are. We don't even know if they're real. And the minute we start disputing them, they can gaffle us up. The mere fact that somebody can come to your house and just literally arrest you is really, it's fucked up. I'm just saying. The mere fact that somebody can do that. So having open carry, yes. Yeah, we got to stay, strapped, off safety. You know what I'm saying? One in the chamber. But really, how does that benefit? What is going to be the outcome? Maybe it'll be a fear factor for them, but they'll just come in stronger. I always said it's a losing battle when it comes to force, unless the rest of the world, which we make up as a global majority, the majority against those who are fighting to keep their knees on our neck. Unless the rest of the world comes together and fights against these people who are trying to keep us oppressed. And only because their God is money, their God is power. That's the only reason why they want to keep us oppressed, because they serve the Lord of money, the Lord of power. And so they, by any means necessary, they will make sure that they don't have to work. You think about rich people, wealthy people per se, they don't really have jobs. I remember working in a place where the VP of the place said, my goal in life is to work myself out of a job. Yeah, I want that too. I want my money to work for me, but not for the sale of my soul, not for the sake of someone else's demise. That's not how they go. Nah, son. No, I ain't gonna be able to do that. So yeah, we're gonna fight back. But do we really have an advantage? When I talked about Tulsa, those black people fought back. That's why we got lit, because they pulled up when they detained the man who they accused of raping a girl on the elevator. Imagine what kind of rape that was. I'm just saying, like, I know we got Minimans out there, but in real life, how long do it take to get to the second floor, to the top floor in the elevator? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in New York, so it wasn't no 100 floor building. Okay, so you rape, like the whole premise of it was jacked up to start with. Okay, but the fact that they arrested that man, I'm talking about the Tulsa massacre, when they arrested this black man when a white woman accused a black man of raping her, they went to the jail. The black men stood up. You watch the movie Malcolm X. If you read the book, the autobiography of Malcolm, you'll see another example of when we pulled up to the jail. Like, we're going to make sure our brother is safe. That's what they did. They pulled up to the jail in Tulsa and said, we want to make sure this man ain't hanged. And as a story is told, the sheriff there said, we had just hanged a man recently, so I don't want another hanging on my watch. So we promised not to hang. But you can't stop these white men because they're lawless. Who gonna check them, boo? You know what I'm saying? So the black men pulled up like, we want to make sure that this man is not hanged, period. And so it became a problem. It was a misunderstanding. Who are these Negroes? Who are they to come up here and pull up with their weapons and they open carry status and say, y'all better not hang him? We need a due process. And so even here in Nevada, when I talk about how the DHS is called this a sanctuary state, that they're giving them the liberty to not follow due process, to just come in and gaffle people up. And some of y'all might not care because these aren't your people. You're not undocumented or you're not an immigrant, but it's going to affect all of us. They start with the weakest of the link, the ones that they can mess with, because people say, yeah, we need to get them out of here because they're taking our job. I want to pick apples. They got all the jobs. I want to pick strawberries. They taking our jobs. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're dealing with. And with Tulsa, they came in, they used military weapons to bomb that community. Again, I told these black people had their own hospitals, libraries, institutions, education. They had everything they needed. They was able to maintain. They didn't need the outside world, which was the white people surrounding them. And the white people were jealous of it. They cannot stand that we drink our water and mind our business. We don't go messing with them like, yeah, we remember y'all had us in slavery. We gonna burn y'all shit down. We ain't done that yet. We only start fighting when y'all start fucking with us. Okay? We'll mind our business. We'll let bygones be bygones until y'all start fucking with us. Okay? So yeah, and so they use military weapons to bomb Tulsa. Okay. And these people ran with the shirts on their back. There was a lady, I think she's 100 and something plus, and now she's still living. God bless her soul. And she said she still sleeps up. She sleeps straight up at night because when she was a kid, I think she was 7 or 8, they had to leave her house. The city was burning and they had to take what they had right then and there. She didn't even take a baby doll. She grabbed a couple of clothes and they went running. And to this day, remember, this happened in 1921. We're in 2025, and this lady a couple of years ago, listening to her interview, she said she still sleeps sitting up, but she needs to stay ready, so she ain't got to get ready to leave. Okay, this is a woman who was 7, 8 years old who experienced this, so the trauma continues, and that's a level of grief too. Even if you survive, you still grieve, and you still have PTSD, and there's a lot that goes on with that. So it's some BS. So when I hear about all these pardons. Pardon me, but when I hear about all these pardons, and I might not commute my rant, I like to keep it to an hour, and I like to keep it to 90 minutes, but I might not. But a pardon, just so y'all understand, means that, okay, you're excused, you may go. And a commutation is basically a reduction in your sentencing when we're talking about jail time, incarceration, okay? So when I'm saying I might commute my rant right now, yeah, I'm just saying I might reduce the time I spend ranting. We'll see. I hate to make promises to y'all because when it comes to this live, I can't keep them. But I try. But anyways, just going back to the history of this, I just don't want y'all to be bamboozled by this president. Don't be distracted by the dangling shiny objects in front of you, because if they're putting this in our face, it's something real serious going on. And I just mentioned something real serious. It doesn't seem very serious now, but it is. It's something real serious going on. They're keeping us, those who vibrate low or don't really pay attention, or, just don't really dig deep enough and read with a third eye and listen with a third ear to understand what's really happening. This president, soon as he got in office, he didn't miss a beat. I don't think he slept before he pardoned 1,500 plus people who were incited in an insurrection. Okay. This man. Okay. And so he pardoned your favorite rapper. Okay. And again, these are people who incited an insurrection. These are people who were kicking your door, waving the 4-4, and all you heard was, "Don't hit me no more." These would be them people. You know what I'm saying? Because they can get their sentences commuted. And I mean, they were really lawless. They were crawling up a building like roaches. Okay. Y'all remember? Okay. So Big Meech, Larry Hoover. They think I'm Big Meech. Larry Hoover. That was, what's his name? Yeah. Oh, some people are forgettable. But yeah, so that one rapper, I don't really care for him anyway, because he even puts content in his music that talks about date rape and drugging women, and she didn't even know it. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm quoting the lyrics. But anyway, Larry Hoover was one of the latest people to have not his sentence pardoned, which means bye-bye. He got a lower time for some sentencing, okay, just some. And so Larry Hoover, just to give you a little backstory on him, for those of you who may not know, he's considered a big gang kingpin and all of that. But he was born in Jackson, Mississippi in 1950 and moved to Chicago as a child. In his early teens, he joined a gang called the Supreme Gangsters. By the late 1960s, he had merged his organization with a rival group led by David Barksdale, creating the Gangster Disciples. Hoover became a prominent figure within the Chicago gang landscape. In 1973, Hoover was convicted of ordering the murder of a 19-year-old William Pookie Young, who was shot 6 times and killed in an alley. He was sentenced to 150 to 200 years in an Illinois state prison. While serving his time, Hoover was later indicted on federal charges. That was in 1995, following a long-term investigation He was convicted in 1997. Look, while he was locked up, okay, of conspiracy, extortion, money laundering, drug trafficking, and operating a continuing criminal enterprise. So he was still allegedly running shit behind bars. Federal prosecutors presented evidence that Hoover managed gang operations from prison, overseeing an organization with tens of thousands of members and large-scale narcotic cells. He received 6 additional life sentences. Okay. According to the attorney to his attorneys, Jennifer Bonjean and Justin Moore, Hoover spent nearly 3 decades in solitary confinement, nearly 3 decades in solitary confinement at the ADX Florence Supermax prison in Colorado. So I don't know how you have a whole gang drug ring when you spent 30 years in solitary confinement. And for those who do not know, that means you're locked in, I think, 23 of the 24 hours in a day. You do not have access to humans. It's actually illegal. I thought it was illegal across the board. I have to go back and find that, but it's inhumane for sure. But anyway, so they're saying that this was when he was locked up in the ADX Florence Supermax prison in Colorado. They described the commutation as a step towards justice. Again, it wasn't a commutation. Let me get it right. Yeah, it was a commutation. Forgive me, not a pardon. So I'm reading a quote that reads, "The courts have demonstrated a complete unwillingness to consider Mr. Hoover's considerable growth and complete rehabilitation." This is what Hoover's attorneys are saying, and said, they said this in a joint statement to Newsweek. They said, "Thankfully, Mr. Hoover's pleas were heard by President Trump, who took action to deliver justice for Mr. Hoover." So let me just say this: despite the federal commutation, Hoover remains in prison under the state sentence from his 1973 murder conviction. Remember, that was like 150 to 200 years, okay? His 1973 murder conviction, he would need to receive a parole or a separate commutation from the governor of Illinois to be fully released, okay? So did y'all's president really do anything? Did he really do anything? As of now, Governor J.B. Fisker, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, who is a Democrat. So, he already butting heads with y'all's president, who's a MAGA. I don't even know if you call him a Republican, but they on different sides of the fence for sure, has not indicated whether such action is being considered. Okay. People that supported Larry Hoover, Kanye, Drake, of course, his son, Larry Hoover Jr. So I'm saying all this to say is that, what did he really do? So for those who are going to big up y'all's president for commuting a sentence, what did he really do besides get your attention and get you to talk about something, right? NBA YoungBoy, again, I mentioned him earlier. He's scheduled to be released in July of this year, but the president went ahead and commuted his sentence. I'm sorry, pardon. Let me stay focused here. Pardon his sentence, okay? So there is some benefits for having a pardon, right? Because you don't have to worry about, maybe they take away the sting, which is being a convicted felon and things of that nature. Maybe some of those things go away. And so maybe those are some of the benefits after being free. But he was going to be free, but maybe he doesn't have those stipulations attached to him. But again, it was he did a plea deal on a federal gun charge, okay? And he was coming home anyway. And then, of course, you have Snoop's ass, and I'm going to say it like that, and I'm going to sip my tea. Let me get my Wendy Williams on, who chimed in to say that players mess up. So he's celebrating what y'all's president has done with these 2 men and others. He says players mess up, but second chances are invaluable. Listen, he ain't, a broken clock can be right twice a day, right? A broken clock can be right twice a day in a 24-hour period. So he might say some good stuff. And I agree that some people do deserve a second chance. But that's not what this is about. You think that this president cares about giving second chances? He's sending a message. Man. Also, I think, we know that, this Snoop also was at the inauguration with the crypto ball that they had. Turn me off from him. I will not, follow him. He lost my respect. I can say that publicly. I don't have a problem with that. I can't respect that. And, just siding with him, just thinking of all the things that I mentioned, all the things that are being taken away from women, You know, some women are going to struggle to be able to vote if you're married, because if your name does not match your birth certificate, which a lot of married women take on their husband's name, then you're in trouble. And that's for the gay community too, because I know some same-sex people take on their partner's name as well. There's a lot of things that are happening. They're taking away our rights to freedoms when it comes to, whatever relation or communication or decisions that are being made between us and our doctors. Like a lot of things, you're saying kids are not beneficiaries after the age of 7. Like they're not dependents after the age of 7. There's so many things that are happening. When the Biden administration decreased the cost of medicines, such as people that have diabetes and high blood pressure. This administration turned around and increased it. Like all of the negative things that you're doing to the working class, the poor, the middle class, the unhoused, and you're celebrating him because you trying to get that crypto dollar. Like money is your Lord. Money is your Lord. You'll never get the power. As soon as they feel like you got power, you know where they're going to take you. They make you now and take you down, put your opinion in your mouth and make you taste it. Something like that. Shout out to Lauryn Hill. Everything is everything. Y'all can go back and get the right quote to them lyrics. But anyway, they never going to let you have the power, but they're going to let you feel like you do have power by way of money. And, money is access to power. But as a Black man in America, I need you to focus. I need you to really, really focus how they plan you. Okay. They use you as a stepping stone. And when they was through, they said, you're sorry, but home. Okay. So that's what Snoop's doing. He's being used and money is his Lord. And that's how I feel. And I said that and I'll say it again. And I don't feel the need to say it to his face because he's a non-factor in my life. He's not, nothing that I eat, nothing that he eats makes me shit. So it's not that deep, except that I just don't like the way he's moving. Okay. But anyway, one of his close associates, Michael Harry O. Harris, was actually was granted clemency by y'all's president in 2021 and received a full pardon this week as well, wiping away a hefty prison sentence. So I can see why he, probably rocking with y'all's president. And and here's the thing, I could see us feeling away, if he had commuted the sentence of my loved one. I could say thank you, but I'm still not voting for your ass. I still don't like what you're doing to the rest of the world. You can't just do right by one person and then I'm just going to put middle fingers up to the rest of the world. That's not how I roll. That's not how I roll. Because a lot of the things I talk about don't directly affect me, but I care about the world. I care about people in period. And at some point I understand that an injustice to one man, shout out to Dr. Martin Luther King, is injustice to all men, to mankind. And I understand that and I respect that. I understand. And that's why I speak up on these things, because if you could do that to them, then you're going to do it to me. And if you never do it to me, it's still wrong that you're doing it to them. And I'm not going to just turn my cheek because it's not happening to me, because it's wrong, period. You got people out here fighting. There's people locked up. I was reading something. Somebody got, Jaheim got arrested for animal cruelty. It's people going to jail for dogs, y'all. It's people fighting for the rights of dogs. And you got people that don't want to stand up for their brothers and sisters because they're not going through it, because they're not them. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Cheryl, who says, I agree with you. I don't like Snoop Dogg anymore either, because he is a traitor. Exactly. Just like them January 6ers, just like y'all's president. You're a traitor to your country. You're a traitor to your people. You're a traitor to our freedoms, our justice and equalities, our rights. You're a traitor. And your God is money. Your Lord and Savior is money. And you have proven that. And listen, I ain't mad at you. Do you, boo? But I don't respect you. I don't respect you. And you're a traitor. I agree. Thank you, Cheryl, for chiming in on Facebook. I appreciate you so much for it. I'm going to play a couple of clips that speaks to why we shouldn't, let this low-hanging fruit get us distracted. You know what I'm saying? Because this is exactly what they want to do. And you got to understand, when they start doing certain things, you got to ask yourself why. You got to follow the money. You got to follow the paper trail. So this is Joy Ann Reid speaking on behalf of these commutations that are happening currently in the recent days and weeks.
The Trump regime, the current administration, whatever you want to call them, are trying to reset and reestablish what criminality means. Recall that the current president of the United States was convicted and sentenced to no jail time, but he was adjudicated a felon, an 88-count felony by a jury of his peers in the state of New York. and you know, he has a mugshot and everything that he has turned into, for him, an iconic image of himself. And at the same time, he has attempted to establish through pardons that the insurrection that he fomented to try to stay in power is not criminality, it's patriotism. All those people get pardons. This series of people who were convicted of fraud, of financial fraud, of defrauding other people, they get pardons. He's establishing that in his mind, corruption, graft, that's not criminality. The Larry Hoover pardon, to me, because Larry Hoover will not be leaving prison, that was just a message pardon. He's trying to signal that particular kind of criminality, that kind of criminality that gets lionized sometimes in hip hop, he's going to try to send a message, I do believe, to our community to say, look at this, I'm going to pardon someone who's been referenced in hip hop. Now you need to love me, right? While at the same time, we shouldn't be fooled by that, because his administration is indicting LaMonica McIver, who is a sitting member of Congress, a Black woman whose only apparent crime was attempting to physically protect Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is also a Black woman, member of Congress from the state of New Jersey, who is in her 70s and was being pushed around by ICE agents who were there to arrest the African-American mayor of Newark, New Jersey. The Trump regime, the current administration, whatever you want to call them, are trying to reset and reestablish what criminality means. Recall that the current president of the United States was convicted and sentenced to no jail time, but he was adjudicated a felon, an 88-count felony by a jury of his peers in the state of New York.
Okay. She didn't really deserve, I didn't mean not deserve, but she really didn't need an applause, but I had to just cut in for a minute. So that was replaying, but that's just another takeaway. And I want you guys to hear another lady, Reese Colbert, who also chimed in on this subject matter, giving her perspective on these pardons, these recent pardons of rappers and former gang members and drug lords.
Go ahead. This is where I want us to be fucking for real. The people who were thanking Donald Trump for pardoning Larry Hoover, even though he's going to spend 100 years in jail under state charges, people who were thanking him for pardoning NBA Youngboy, who was already going to get out of jail anyway, please do not take these pardons as some sort of olive branch to the Black community. What they are is a distraction from them undoing consent decrees, a distraction from him pardoning a sheriff who was taking bribes for deputies for hire. It's a distraction from what they're doing to further indemnify police officers from the terror and the abuse that they ran on our communities. It's a distraction from them normalizing the militarization of armed officers, whether they're ICE, HHS, FBI, whatever the situation, on our streets, hunting people. So do not for any reason think that these little nuggets that they're trying to do that make all the Black little gossip blogs are about how, see, they're trying to court the Black vote, they're trying to court Black men. No, it's pure distraction. We have to keep our eye on the ball on how detrimental these policies are and how they are targeting our community economically, targeting our health, targeting our safety. In every single facet, this administration is hostile to us, if we can even stay in this country. Because like we said earlier, they're trying to pack our asses up and send us to some country in Africa if they can.
I said that too, and I agree. And that's Reese Colbert. She has a show on Saturday, Sirius XM Urban View, if you guys want to check her out. So yeah, don't be surprised. Now, when I heard about the Chrisleys, if y'all haven't heard of them, they had a reality show, white guy, white lady, they have a melanated granddaughter, and they were pretty, I enjoyed watching them. And he just pardoned the Chrisleys, who were originally, I forget the charges. It was something to do with circumventing the IRS, basically. They circumvented the IRS by millions so that they, quote, unquote, could live a lavish life. And so they went to jail, I think him for 12 years and his wife a few years short of his. And they were just pardoned. I don't think they did 2 years, maybe 2 years, maybe 2.5. I can't remember exactly, but maybe it hasn't been that long, but the president y'all's president just pardoned those two. And I was kind of happy to hear that because, like I said, just watching them, they were some cool people. And then I started to go down a rabbit hole. I started to watch, follow the daughter, because the daughter was the one who was advocating for them. She was, with the MAGA hat on during the election prior to y'all's current president's winning in 2024. She was very supportive. She was speaking out against all the allegations, 34 felony counts, insurrectionists, two, what do we call it? Impeachments, twice impeachments, all of those things. She was kind of just speaking out against all of that. And I was like, oh, nah. Like, I'm still not mad, but it's like, I don't really support anybody who's I consider an enemy to me. And so I went down that rabbit hole and I was like, whatever. But then recently, I think as early as yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, the husband, Mr. Chrisley, the one who, who's the funniest to me, he spoke out. And the first thing he mentioned was the fact that prisons have a high level of discrimination against Black men. And he said he experienced it during his time. That's the first thing he spoke about. Is he said he got better treatment than the Black people in those prisons. And then I said, oh, okay. So my girl, the daughter was playing him. She was playing him. She used him as a stepping stone. And when she is through, I hope she's sending sorry butt home. So but that's what you can do with this president. You smile at him, you show him a little cleavage, you know what I'm saying? You suck your stomach in, and you say nice things to him because he's a narcissist. You just say real nice things to him. You can get him to do what you want. Shout out to Kim Kardashian. So I was like, okay. But the first thing he did when he got out of prison was speak out against the injustices done to Black men in these prisons and the discrimination that's done even in the prison system. So I appreciated that. Again, I wasn't mad at him because I was having a conversation with my cousin and I said, to me, those are victimless crime. I'm not encouraging you. I don't appreciate, I'm not telling you guys you should do it. I'm not celebrating that because as you see, shout out to Lauryn Hill, Wesley Snipes, I think one of the Isleys. You can do time for trying to circumvent paying your taxes, paying up to your pimp. I'm just saying the pimp need his money. Bitch better have my money is a real song. Like Rihanna made a song about it. Shout out to it's Cash Doll, Run Me My Money. Yeah, they be playing that. The IRS be playing that. And so I wasn't mad at them for getting out because I felt bad for them. I don't wish prison on pretty much not a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Very few people I would wish prison on. And so I was cool with that. And then just to come out and hear him, I feel like sometimes we go through things because we need to be able to see the light, so maybe he knew this already, but him having that experience is a benefit, to be able to come out and speak about the injustices that are done to Black men and women even in the prison system. Shanta's chiming in again on YouTube. She says, it's sad when people of color lift up and support the nation of a white supremacy. Real Niggaz, baby. Yeah, that's what she said. Listen, I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's really sad, but they non-factors to me. Like y'all can go on over there and just remember who you are when we win. You ain't invited to the cookout. You still not invited to the cookout. Stay over there. I remember the story of before we wrap it up. I know I had other topics. We'll get into it next week. I want to talk about trades. We need to get into trades instead of this white collar industry. AI is about to take over, and I'll get into that next week. I'll be sure to mention it. And I also wanted to talk about the tariffs, and we don't have time to talk about that today. So I want to close out just talking about these pardons. But I remember when A$AP Rocky got locked up. Y'all remember that when he was in Switzerland? If y'all don't know, that's Rihanna's baby daddy. But anyway, I think they're on baby number 3. But he was arrested in Switzerland in 2019, suspected of assault, found guilty, and given a suspended sentence. Well, at the time, you had y'all's president rooting for him, saying basically, what was he saying specifically? Get him out. He said, he was just basically, saying one of my, friends of my rapper is locked up, and he's gonna try to talk. Work with the leaders there. He said he was, with the leader there in Switzerland to try to get him out. But A$AP Rocky cleared that up. He said, y'all's president didn't get him out. So Donald Trump was not the reason why he was released. He said he did not help him get out of that. That's a misperception. he didn't help. He made efforts. He rooted for me to come home, but he didn't free me. And he also wrote that he was appreciative that Donald Trump went out of his way to help him, and he was thankful that he did. But because he didn't have to, but he wasn't, that wasn't the reason why they ended up releasing him. So, quote unquote, he said he took the time out of his day and that made me happy while being in there, because when you're in jail, you feel like nobody cares. You just get lost. He said you feel soulless, like you feel low, bro. And I could feel that. And then you got Lamar Odom, can we really count him? I think he didn't kill out all his brain cells. So I can't even really consider him a factor. But again, recently, May 22nd, he met with Booz as he entered the dinner for top investors. This is for this whole this Bitcoin thing they got going on, and he's celebrating that. He thinks this is an opportunity to make money. So we know who his God is, his Lord and Savior is money. Again, as a Black man, you'll never get the power under this regime, but okay, your Lord and Savior is money. And then I remember the story of Michelle Fior. She was here locally, Nevada. She was a committee woman in Nevada. I remember actually being present, protesting against her seat and wanting her out because of some things she had said. But she had a sentence commuted after she had stole millions of money in the name of others, to help others. She ended up just pocketing that money. So the president commuted her. Again, she was assemblywoman, also, a Vatican committee woman. But the reason why she rubbed me the wrong way is back in the day when she said, that was in 2020, she said that if there's a job opening and my white ass is more qualified than somebody's Black ass, then my white ass should get the job. And I was like, what? When the majority of people, women, when it comes to affirmative action, even though Black people fought to put that into place so that we can have access to capital, we can have access to the American dream, access to, livable wages, because we were being denied that by way of discrimination and racism. She benefited, and as many white women do, because with affirmative action, it benefits all but white men. And so they give them, the majority of people who benefit from affirmative action were white women. So I was like, did she say that? Did she really say that? And so, yeah. And, just talking about these commutations and people who are celebrating him again, I know if this president by some way commuted or pardoned the sentencing of my loved one or someone that I think didn't deserve it, shout out to Assata Shakur and a lot of political prisoners that are still incarcerated to date, I would celebrate that if he did that, but I still wouldn't vote for his ass because he's still working to the demise. And you can't sell me by doing something good when the majority of you is bad. Your intentions are bad. Whatever you do is based on bad. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So if the enemy of my enemy is my friend, then what does it mean when the enemy is a friend of my friend? If the enemy of my enemy is my friend, which means that gives us a reason to work together against a common enemy, right? But what if the enemy is a friend of my friend? So these people are my friends. And if they were my friends, now that they're friends with the enemy, they've omitted themselves out of my friends list. Okay. I've unfollowed you. I've unfriended you. Okay. So yeah. If for the love of money is a root of all evil, okay? For the love of money is a root of all evil. And before we close out of here, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Again, we'll talk about AI and how people should consider getting more trade jobs so that we can do for self when we talk about entrepreneurship and just not being dependent on this government who is pimping us. Okay, with no Vaseline, y'all know what I'm saying. Taking our money and then trying to take away all of our rights and access to our money. I just want to leave you guys with a little levity. But before I do that, let me thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining me through my technical difficulties, and applaud you guys for hanging out with your girl. Thank you all that joined me in the chat. I appreciate y'all always. So thank you so much. Let me give you your applause. IG clip, like I said, I like to close out with a little levity. Just give y'all something to laugh about. We can cry. We can cry through this whole show, right? But you know what I'm saying? I don't like how my eyes be looking like they're all puffy and stuff. Yeah, it's not a good look. But this is a funny story. This is a conversation. This is a comedian. I think he's Cuban. I don't know who he is. He reminds me of the guy from what was it? Lucy's husband on the show, Lucy, Moonlight. It wasn't Moonlighters. Anyway. So this man is talking to his son and then trying to explain to his son what is politics. So you guys listen to this as he explains to his son what is politics and how his son interprets what he's saying.
A 9-year-old boy talking to his father. Daddy, what is politics? The boy asks a pertinent question. Father had to think now to give he a pertinent answer. What is politics? Father, haughty brains, he says, son, let me put it this way. I have to provide for you. So I am the capitalist, you are the people. Your mother does keep the money. She is the government. The babysitter is the working class, and your baby brother is the future. You understand? Well, the boy couldn't put that jigsaw puzzle together. He said, I think so. He gone to bed and he's sleeping. While he's sleeping, he hear a little baby brother crying. He went and peep in the room and see the diaper in a mess. So he tried to communicate with the mother. Mommy sung asleep. He decided not to disturb she. He gone to the babysitter. When he watching the room, daddy having an affair with the babysitter. He decided not to disturb them either. So he go and tuck away in bed and he sleep. In the morning, he get up, they having breakfast. He said, Dad, I think I know what is politics. He said, good, tell me in your own small way, what is politics? He said, well, Dad, is something like this. While the government is asleep, the capitalists cruise the working class. The people are ignored while the future is in deep shit.
You might have to listen to that again, but that is funny as hell, and it definitely sums up politics, in my opinion. Thank you so much for joining me. For those who listen after you listen to the replay, I appreciate you as well. I will be back next week to catch all up on everything we missed. Love you and appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. Learn something new and be kind. Choose empathy. See you later.